The world was on the edge of a new golden age. A single discovery had promised to reshape life as we knew it, an energy source so vast that it could fuel entire civilizations indefinitely. Nations abandoned fossil fuels, power plants shut down, and the Earth's reliance on dwindling resources became a relic of the past. It was humanity's greatest achievement, the dawn of a new era. But hidden deep within the foundation of this miraculous breakthrough was a flaw. A single miscalculation, so small that it had gone unnoticed by the brightest minds on the planet. A flaw that, when set into motion, would not just threaten the future, but unravel the very fabric of existence itself. At first, the signs were subtle flickering lights, strange shifts in the weather, whispers of energy surges in places where no power grid existed. But then the anomalies grew. Time began to stutter, objects phased in and out of reality, and soon, the ground beneath humanity's feet started to dissolve into the unknown. Now, as the last remnants of civilization struggle to understand what is happening, one question remains: can the mistake be undone, or has the end already begun? A revolutionary breakthrough in energy research was hailed as the greatest scientific achievement of the century. Dr. Elias Carter, a renowned physicist, had discovered a way to harness energy from a previously unknown subatomic particle. This energy source, infinitely renewable and astonishingly efficient, promised to eliminate global power shortages, end reliance on fossil fuels, and catapult humanity into a new technological age. Governments, corporations, and scientific institutions across the world raced to integrate this technology into everyday life. Within months, entire cities were powered by this limitless energy, and a future of abundance seemed within reach. The world celebrated, unaware of the small but devastating miscalculation hidden deep within the original equations. In the rush to deploy the technology, rigorous long-term testing had been overlooked. The energy source, while stable at first, contained an unpredictable variable, one that subtly interacted with the fundamental forces of the universe. The problem was so minuscule that even the most advanced supercomputers dismissed it as irrelevant. However, what appeared as an insignificant anomaly in theory had far-reaching consequences in reality. At first, the effects were imperceptible: tiny fluctuations in the electromagnetic field, strange readings on sensitive scientific instruments, and brief distortions in high-energy experiments. These signs were dismissed as background noise or minor system errors. No one suspected that these fluctuations were the first warning signs of a catastrophe in the making. As the energy source continued to power more of the world, the unseen flaw began to grow, setting in motion a slow but unstoppable chain reaction. What had started as humanity's greatest achievement was, in reality, a ticking time bomb, one that, when it reached its critical point, would threaten the very fabric of existence itself. As the new energy source became more widely adopted, its subtle side effects began to escalate. Scientists noticed that gravitational fields in certain areas fluctuated slightly, causing minuscule distortions in space-time. Clocks in high-energy facilities ran slightly out of sync, satellites in orbit experienced unexplained deviations, and quantum experiments began producing erratic results. However, these anomalies were still considered minor, with most experts attributing them to observational errors or unrelated cosmic interference. Then, people started experiencing bizarre occurrences: electronic devices malfunctioning unpredictably, street lights flickering in rhythmic patterns, and power surges happening without any identifiable cause. Reports emerged of objects shifting slightly out of place when no one was watching, as if reality itself was momentarily misaligned. At first, these incidents were written off as glitches in the infrastructure, but soon, something far more unsettling began to happen. Individuals working near energy hubs reported sudden and inexplicable memory lapses. Entire conversations vanished from recollection, moments replayed themselves in a disjointed fashion, and some even claimed to have seen their own reflections move independently for a fraction of a second. Surveillance footage revealed disturbing inconsistencies: people appearing twice in the same frame, shadows cast by objects that no longer existed, and figures caught standing still in places where no one was supposed to be. The more humanity relied on this energy, the more reality itself seemed to fray. Scientists desperately worked to understand the phenomenon, but the answer was more horrifying than anyone could have imagined. The energy source wasn't just powering cities, it was rewriting the fundamental rules of the universe in ways that could not be reversed. And the worst part, the effects were accelerating. The fabric of existence was beginning to unravel, and humanity had no way of stopping it. As the distortions grew more severe, entire cities began experiencing irregularities that defied explanation. Streets that once led to familiar places now twisted into impossible configurations, with some roads ending in endless loops or disappearing into voids that weren't there before. Buildings shifted subtly in structure, with rooms changing size overnight or entire floors vanishing from existence, leaving those inside trapped in an inescapable nightmare. Reports of déjà vu became commonplace, with people reliving the same moments over and over, as if time itself was malfunctioning. Those who spent prolonged periods near high-energy zones started exhibiting strange symptoms. At first, it was subtle difficulty focusing, minor memory lapses, and the occasional sensation of displacement. But soon, it escalated into something far more terrifying. Some individuals began experiencing complete disconnection from reality. They would wake up in places they had no recollection of traveling to, sometimes miles away from where they had last been. Conversations they had never participated in played in their minds as if they had lived through them. Some claimed they could see versions of themselves flickering in and out of existence, as if they were overlapping with alternate versions of reality. It wasn't long before the anomalies turned lethal. People vanished without a trace, only to reappear in distorted states, bodies fused with walls, limbs stretched impossibly long, faces frozen in expressions of unspeakable horror. Others were found trapped in paradoxical states, existing in two locations at once but unable to perceive either fully. Scientists scrambled to contain the situation, but the energy's effect on reality was beyond human comprehension. Every attempt to reverse the damage only seemed to worsen it. The world was no longer bound by the laws of physics humanity had once understood. Reality itself was falling apart, and there was no going back. As the world crumbled under the weight of its own mistakes, humanity desperately sought solutions. The brightest minds, once responsible for pushing the boundaries of science, now worked tirelessly to contain the catastrophe they had unleashed. Governments funneled resources into massive research projects, constructing enormous underground facilities where experiments could be conducted in isolation, away from the worst of the anomalies. Their goal was simple: find a way to stabilize reality before it was too late. But the deeper they delved into the problem, the more they realized that the damage was beyond repair. The fundamental fabric of existence had been stretched to its breaking point, and every attempt to counteract the distortions only accelerated the collapse. The very energy they had harnessed to propel humanity forward had rewritten the rules of nature, creating unpredictable pockets of instability. Some areas of the world had become completely inaccessible, lost to fluctuating timelines and dimensions colliding with one another. Those who wandered into these zones were never seen again, or worse, returned changed, speaking in fragmented sentences, claiming to have lived lifetimes in mere moments, or screaming about things that no one else could see. The remaining leaders of the world faced an impossible choice: continue fighting to fix the irreversible or abandon their world entirely. Secret initiatives began developing contingency plans, off-world colonies, digital consciousness uploads, and even radical ideas of creating a controlled reset of reality itself. But all of these solutions came with unknown consequences. Time was running out, and humanity was on the brink of losing everything. The terrifying truth was clear: there was no single point of failure, no singular mistake to undo. The future was already broken, and the only question left was whether there was any future at all. In a last desperate attempt to preserve what remained of humanity, scientists and leaders made the ultimate gamble. If the world could not be saved, then perhaps a new one could be created. Hidden deep beneath the Earth's surface, a clandestine project was initiated, one that sought to craft a controlled reality, a simulation so perfect that human consciousness could be transferred into it. It was an untested and controversial idea, but it was the only option left. As the real world continued its descent into chaos, volunteers both willing and coerced were selected for the transfer. Their minds were scanned, digitized, and uploaded into a meticulously designed artificial realm where the laws of physics remained stable, time flowed normally, and history could be rewritten to exclude the mistakes that had led to the apocalypse. In this new world, they would live out their lives, never knowing that the existence they experienced was nothing more than a digital construct. Those who remained behind, the ones who refused to abandon the real world, became ghosts in a collapsing reality. But the project's architects had overlooked one crucial flaw: some of the anomalies from the broken world had followed them into the simulation. Glitches, inconsistencies, and strange occurrences began to manifest. Whispers of a forgotten past, flashes of a world that no longer existed, and the growing sense that something wasn't right plagued the new civilization. The simulation, despite its perfection, was tainted by the echoes of what had been. As the truth slowly unraveled, those who had sought salvation in a new reality realized the horrifying truth: no matter how much they tried to escape their past, the consequences of their mistakes would always follow them.